Are we talking about the new wrestling company down in Florida?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Actually, one of the first signees, if not the first signee of that company, who's joining us for this very special Luna's Vachon tribute show, is on the line with us right now. Sean Waltman, are you with us?
Yeah, man, what's up?
Great to have you back on, man. It's been a heavy episode. It's going to get heavier later on when we have Missy on the show. You know, it's a strange week for us. I said at the beginning of the show, if we had this lineup of people coming on the show for any other reason, we'd be bouncing off the walls with excitement. But because it's for all the right reasons, but because it's for a somber occasion, it's a little bit leaves a little bit of a lump in your throat.
Yeah, it's not been good. The last few weeks have been pretty tough in the wrestling business.
It's been a horrible one. I mean, it's been a horrible summer from young guys like Trent Acid joining at the very beginning of the summer to Lance Cade to J.C. Bailey. Yeah, who was another young guy just fell yesterday. And one we're hearing.
You know, you mentioned Trent Acid, and what a prime example of got somebody. What a really, really good guy too. Really good-hearted guy. Just you know, and I can relate to the stuff he went through. You know, but it's like I was saying, it was a prime example of somebody that had all this potential, man. Tons of potential, and just, you know, drugs, man.
Yeah. That's all it takes, really. It seems that way right now, anyway.
Yeah.
And the amazing look he had, and one of the things that I liked about him is that he could do hardcore style stuff like in WWE and CZW, but he can also have a technical match with you. So he was a little bit of everything, and man, that was a surprise. And of course, one of the bigger ones that we saw was one that was a good friend of yours. And I think you said to me that she was a friend of yours since you were 13 years old.
Met her in, I think it was 1986 when I met her. Yeah.
Wow.
And the first time I remember seeing her, they shot an angle in the old Sportatorium for the TV show. Sorry about the cough there. And she came out, and I think she was she was with Kevin Sullivan, and they were doing an angle, and it was Kendall Windham was there, Blackjack Mulligan, and it was supposed to be she was supposed to be their sister, or Kendall's sister. And, Kendall was terrible. I mean, it was just the worst acting of all time, but what stood out was just, Kevin slapped the living crap out of her.
His exact wording of it was ass over tea kettle, was what he did to her. So.
Yep. It was amazing, and that saved the whole thing. She saved it, you know. Well, I mean, you know, Kevin didn't mind knocking the shit out of her either, but, you know, and always, you know, I would go to all the shows. I would go to all the, well, not every show, because they ran 7 nights a week down here. But, you know, quite a few. And, man, every night she was getting the crap beat out of her. And every night, feed in for just, you know, massive ass whooping at the hands of, one-man gang. And just, I mean, just double tough woman, you know. Started with Moolah, and, you know, I mean, you know, I'm sure you probably heard the stories of how rough that was.
Yeah, and from what I understand, she was one of the few who wouldn't sign the deal with Moolah to give her any of her profits and all that.
Yeah, Moolah was, you know, obviously we lost her, and she was very, very nice to me, but a lot of the women, you know, carried a lot of resentment for her over the. She tried, you know, the way she kind of had a monopoly in the women's wrestling, and then Luna was a real renegade, you know.
Oh yeah, and you guys broke into WWF almost identically at the same time. She came in at WrestleMania 9, and just a few weeks later, you came in with the 1, 2, 3 Kid.
Yeah, man. Yep. And Angel, she was also married to briefly. She was married to a guy named Tom Nash. He was one of the Black Hearts,
yep.
Partners with David Heath, you know, and you know, eventually David and her were married.
Yep.
You know, we all kind of broke in together, you know, and just a real, everybody's going to tell you what a great person she was.
Nobody said it. I mean, if you read right now, I don't think anybody, if you saw the character on TV, I don't think you'd have any idea just how many people.
But that was one side of her, it's not, without a doubt she was crazy. She'd be the first one to sit and tell you, that's what made her, and I can sit and tell you stories, but they're not stories I really think are appropriate right now, but they're the ones that, when we're, sitting in, the dressing room and having fond memories, we'll be talking about these stories there, and then we'll leave them in the dressing room.
So, yeah. Also along with us, Patrick Kelly.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
And Mr. Nick Knoll is with us as well.
How you guys doing, man?
I have a tendency to kind of take over on the interviews and kind of shut these guys out, so I'm kind of trying to shut myself up here. Let them get a word in edgewise. So,
no, it's all right, man. You're good at this.
Yeah, maybe so. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I suck, but what are you going to do? But, man, yeah, this has been, like I said, you had Medusa on, and this is somebody who, from everybody's account, just beat the crap out of one time. Just coming on and crying, literally, and saying how much he loved her. So, I mean, this is, I think you said to me in a message as well, and I hate to put words in your mouth, but this one's hit you harder, or as hard as Curt Hennig back in the day.
Oh, nothing has hit me ever harder than the death of Curt. To be honest with you, that would be a really hard one to, but it's not a contest,
Exactly.
It's just, since the time that Curt passed away, I've had a chance to, unfortunately, get really numb to friends of mine passing away. And, in spite of that, it's still like, I still broke down and cried here in this one, I haven't done that in quite a while, so.
This is one that, I don't think there's a person on that's posted anything that said anything negative to say, and I don't think it's just the old adage of if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. I think everybody legitimately liked this person, and that's rare for this business.
Yeah, it's not as common, but she's just one of those kind of people, very, very considerate. My kids loved her, and she was good to all the. Everybody in my family that ever experienced her. So it's those are the kind of memories that you leave behind.
Yeah. So what is it about this business? Missy Hyatt gave me a stat, actually, and we're going to hear that interview coming up in just a little bit. She said that she actually sat down one night and factored in, based on a random World War II World War II platoon that went to war. She said that if you factored in the amount of deaths of people that she considered friends in the wrestling business and called that her platoon, she would have had more people that were still with her today than if she had gone to war.
Wow.
What was that?
It's funny that you say that, because I was just... I'm on a radio show down here a lot called the Cowhead Show, and we were talking about this the other day, and I said, my job, my profession has the highest mortality rate of any job there is that I can think of. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of one that that really does. And I even said I would rather. I think I'd stand a better chance in in the trenches in Afghanistan. Than a person does surviving, the wrestling business.
And if you'd asked me for a profession where there are probably more deaths than wrestling, that the Army probably would have been my answer, but I guess not.
No, man. No, not in this day and age. In this day and age, man. It's not. Don't get me wrong. These aren't the days of storming the beaches of Normandy either. We're not losing our guys like we used to, but still, it's still ridiculous. I mean, you got a better chance of making it through like going in the rock and roll industry.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about that the other day, is that, we lost a few rock stars in the past couple of years that really bummed me out, but for the most part, a lot of the guys I grew up on who were on more drugs than anybody had a right to be on are still with us. And that's kind of, stunning to me.
But, I mean, see, there are guys, I mean, I can name you plenty of guys that I know that don't do any drugs, they don't drink any alcohol, they don't do any of that, and they manage to get by on the road. It's just, I think the type of personality that our industry attracts have a tendency to also end up with a probability of becoming an addict if they're exposed to those kind of conditions. So I mean, I just think that there's a lot of factors that play into it, and I don't know if I think it will get better, and I just think that right now, I mean, we're still seeing the casualties of the people that were in the previous generation of people. We're going to still see more deaths here. I mean, get used to it for a while. I hate to say.
I hope that's not the case, but that seems to be where we're headed.
I'm sorry. I'm just being realistic here. I mean, we're going to see more people pass that, are pushing 50 and that now. And it's going to be a while before we stop seeing it, but we will.
I hope so. And
no, for sure, dude, because a few years ago, well, more than a few now, I mean, I started noticing a change in the locker room, and there's a lot more people that are, a lot healthier now. I mean, it's just that it takes a while to see the progress.
And from what I understand, and talk about this only as much as you feel comfortable doing so, but we mentioned at the beginning of the show that, options for wrestlers, and one of the options that's coming up, little by little, is they talk about the company that you're signed to, and that is that apparently they would like to include health care with part of the job description and things like that. Is that something that you think could eventually really also help the death rate in this business?
I don't know if something like that matters. I mean, as far as keeping people from the making stupid choices. Come on, I mean, it's just that it's something that would be great for the boys and the ladies in our industry to have. And I mean, there's an argument to be made that some of these guys are making enough money that they can afford to make their own financial planning, and that's good. That's true. Well, just like the Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA and all that, they have they have some of the best medical benefits and that you could possibly have. And I mean, films and TV shows still manage to get made, and everybody still makes a lot of money off them, and so I mean, I think that the industry can bear the cost of this. And another thing is that it's another option, and I think that's what, even though we got two at the moment, and one that you were a part of not very long ago, and that's TNA, and of course WWE, but everybody's looking for another option. I don't know why, but I think we're all just looking for something that reminds us of what we love about the business. And sometimes we see it in all the companies, because we can't say it's all bad, and sometimes we get very frustrated and we come on shows like this and bitch, piss, and moan about it. So. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of great things still about, that you can see on the shows that are available.
Yeah, exactly.
But bad stuff too that you got to kind of try to, you've got to tolerate to be able to see a little bit of good wrestling on TV. I mean, I'm really not a fan of all the. I remember when it was a big deal to see, to get a glimpse of backstage. Now you have all these backstage, pre-tape segments and interviews and that soap opera acting. pretending like you don't know the camera's there. And I mean, come on, man. It's time to, let's cut some of that shit out, man.
And I'll say this, I think Kevin Nash might be the smartest man in wrestling because he's probably the only one that I've ever seen constantly acknowledge the camera whenever he's doing backstage segments like that. And I just love Kevin Nash for doing that.
He's very, man, he's one of my dearest friends I've ever had in my life. And I've been, traveled, I've spent more time with him and, Scott, Hunter and Sean than I do with my own family, for years. So, he is highly intelligent. He's always mindful of these type of things. And it takes a while to you can be highly intelligent and not know how to do that stuff. It takes a while to learn that,
We mentioned TNA, and, we kind of want to keep it more to Luna and all that. We don't want to, bring you into a whole bunch of discussion about your career and all that. But we do have to ask you, since we last talked, you did have a stint in TNA, and what do you think of the scope of how that company's going, and how do you like what they're doing?
I don't know. I mean, I would have thought they would have seen a bigger spike in the ratings with the amount of money they've spent on talent, but it's not really been what I think they were hoping for. I mean, the numbers are good, in comparison to other shows on television, but I just think that they're not putting enough wrestling on the shows. And at this point, I think that to build up pay-per-view buys, you have to build up the ratings first. I mean, and when the ratings go up, the pay-per-view numbers go up hand in hand, and that's a fact that's always been, more or less. So I think that they should be going out there and giving them everything they have every week and worrying about what they're going to do next week when they get there, because you can always come up with something. Believe it or not, I mean, we were throwing everything but the kitchen sink out at the people out there trying to get back, ahead of WCW when I went back to work for Vince. Yeah,
and that was the best time in wrestling, because on one show you had a pay-per-view quality event, and on the other show you had a pay-per-view quality event, and at the end of the day, you had a bunch of people who were going to work and talking at the water cooler about wrestling, or going to school and talking in the locker room about wrestling. I mean, it was just a great time to be a wrestling fan. And now, it's to the point again where a lot of people that I meet up with that I went to school with over a decade ago and college with that I met again a decade ago come up to me and they're like, "Well, what are you doing now?" "Well, I run a wrestling business, an LLC company selling wrestling stuff, and do a wrestling talk show." And they're like, "You still like that stuff?" And it's a sad state of affairs, but it's where we're at.
Yeah, you hate to have to be an apologetic wrestling fan, but that's what it comes to, every now and again. Like back in the days of the garbage men and the plumbers and the hockey players and all of that.
Yeah. My favorite was Mantar, because I still don't know what it was supposed to be.
Oh, God, I don't think anybody did. They just wanted to make him carry that goddamn big buffalo head thing around.
Did somebody backstage not like him? Because that sounds like he was ribbed.
He had a little bit of heat. Nothing bad, though. Nothing bad, because he was a good guy. He just, I don't know, I just think he didn't know quite how to act when he first got there. And I don't know, man. I remember him having a match with Scott when he was doing Razor. And he just was standing there looking at Scott all stupid. Scott just slapped the living crap out of him. Oh, it was hilarious.
I just remember that time in wrestling, just trying to find a way to justify some of it. Like,
horrible.
They all had to have day jobs, apparently. You had to have one that worked as a plumber and one that worked, aside from being a wrestler, they were a garbage man. It's like, doesn't wrestling pay enough to where they don't have to be employed elsewhere?
Right. Yeah, and Vince would have guys around him that, they would just perpetuate. Like if it was a bad idea, but Vince happened to like it, they would and they thought he liked it. People would just go, yeah, it's a great idea, and, you know, I mean, classic yes man type of shit, and it's, you know, it's easy for anybody to think that they have good ideas when people are telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah, and that's what you guys in the clique, you know, from everything we've heard, you were just the ones who would finally say, look,
this sucks.
Exactly.
To be honest, I keep thinking we need
what it was, dude.
What's that, Pat?
I keep thinking we need that again. Like all the young guys today that, you know what it is to be cool could, like, band together and tell Vince, like, look, this ain't working. Or it's like, no, I'm not doing this. This is terrible. But
yeah, but that's really, I mean, the way they have things structured now, man, it's really hard for anybody to get any kind of ball sack like that. Oh, because the guys that do have any, that they see, you know, they're going to take care of the guys that are, they see star quality in. It's just, I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, I don't know what to say about that, you know? That's just kind of how it is. And you know, if certain guys want to buck the system and they think that it needs to happen, that's awesome.
I think they got to be...
but they got to, you know, be willing to pay the consequences, because I know I have, in my career, paid the price of, you know, standing up and saying this sucks, or, you know, this is bullshit, or, you know, I hate what you're doing with that guy, or, you know. I got more heat for the for the fights that I picked over other people than I ever did sticking up for myself.
Now, you mentioned you always pay attention, too, when you were there, because you were always, you know, trying to learn about the backstage side of things as well as the on-screen stuff.
Yeah, because you know that one day you're not going to be able to do your job anymore in the ring. Also, it was always just a point. You know, Kurt Hennig taught me that when I got there. Learn about everything. Learn who the people are that are in the truck that are making you look good out there. Learn all their names. Learn what they do. You know, I mean, and I just kind of went back to starting when I was 10 years old, setting a ring up. So
there you go. Now, we do have to ask you about this, because his name has been in the news for various reasons. You mentioned Scott Hall a few minutes ago. How is he doing?
He's doing fine.
Oh, very good, because he was in and out of the hospital for a while there, so I just want to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, he's just you know, concentrating on you know, on his health, and he's in a great spot. I mean, where he's at is there's not a better place where it could be. You know, I mean, anybody walking the streets, or everybody's got issues, and everybody would be a lot better off if they could ever experience a place like that, man. I mean, it's like going to college, almost. You know, the way you learn about the mind, and, you know, about your issues and how to deal. Damn near walk out of there with a degree. So
very cool. And
cool stuff, man. And it costs a lot of money, and Vince footing the bill. You know, the evil Vince that you know, people like to demonize as a human being.
Yeah.
And you know, you could disagree or whatever, and that, but the one thing that I would really take issue with people disagreeing on is the fact that the guy does care.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
does care.
He, you know, that they put out something a while ago saying that anybody who needed help with things, you know, they'd foot the bill for it, and from what I understand, for the most part, they've done so. So, I mean,
well, they would. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I can tell you that he's put the bill personally out of his own pocket one time before there was ever any such thing as a wellness program. Actually, twice.
Really?
Twice.
Really?
Now that, yes.
Wow. What is it about, and Medusa talked about this a little bit, maybe we can, you know, shed a little light on it, except for this business attracting addictive personalities. What is it that makes this business different than other sports and other avenues in life, to where when it is over, when you can't do it anymore, some people can't detach themselves to the point where it swallows them up as a person. What is it in our business that makes it different than anything else?
Well, because it's not a sport, in the sense that, it's hard for, it is, after all, entertainment. And, we're able to go a lot longer in wrestling than we would if it was actually a competition, because we can stay good athletes, but we're losing our reflexes and all that. And a lot of guys would have to bow out, but we're able to hang in there, man, and not give it up. And it's that high you get, that drug, is 100% uncut shit, man.
There's guys that are, you're not an old guy. You're the same age as my wife. So you're not an old guy, but there's guys that are, almost twice your age. No, not almost twice, but probably got 20, 30 years on you, like Demolition. They're still doing it. I just got them booked up in Canada, and, when you talk to them, what they'll tell you is they love doing it, and as long as, somebody's willing to come see them to do it, they'll do it. Same with Tito Santana. As long as somebody's willing to pay, they'll keep doing it because they just enjoy what they do.
Yeah, man, it is great. It really is. And that's what I felt. That's why I fell in love with it. It was because of what it did to me. Watching it,
Exactly.
And that. But when the end comes, it's not pretty.
It can be.
It's not pretty, and a lot of people don't have. They never maybe studied a lot of aspects of the business other than being in the ring and that side of it. Maybe they aren't necessarily on the business end that savvy.
Wow.
Comes is really not a place for a lot of people, man, and that's the sadness of it. There's not a lot of happy endings, but knowing that, I'd still do it again.
Yeah, I think that's what when you watch documentaries, like what they put on with even not documentaries, even The Wrestler, the movie, when you watch Beyond the Mat, things like that, they always paint these pictures of guys like Coco Beware, and they almost make it almost like it seems like it's a sad story, but in reality, these guys, I know Coco a little bit. He seems somewhat happy with where he's at, so is it sad that he's 55 and getting in the ring? And you know what? Maybe to somebody who looks at it the same way that they look down on Brett Favre for getting on the football field, but at the same rate, if he's willing to get paid to go do it, and he likes to do it, and people like to see him do it, so what the hell's the problem?
If there wasn't a place for him in the wrestling business somewhere, then he wouldn't be getting booked.
There you go. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
I am right.
Exactly.
And how can you argue that?
That's exactly right.
Maybe when we get to a certain age, we're not putting those good matches out, but it's still great nostalgia for the people.
Yeah. I can't argue with that whatsoever. So, man, where are we going from here with both with wrestling and the sad things that we talked about earlier in the interview, and where are we headed with this new company and the prospects that from what you saw on the inside of TNA? Can we expect things to kind of just plateau for a little while still, or do you think we're going to see any more booms, or what are we going to do?
That's a good question. I'm kind of, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of I'm looking at it from the same perspective as you are. From the same vantage point, man. I'm waiting to see as well. Let's see. I'm on my part. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just sitting on my ass waiting for something, to happen. I'm trying to make things happen too, but really there's things that are happening that I'm not really privileged to talk about right now just because of an agreement I signed. So, now I would be breaking that agreement, but I can acknowledge that there's this project that's going on because obviously you've reported on it.
There you go, yeah. And I did want to talk to you a little bit about TNA real quick. And we had Davari, who was, You know who Davari is. I don't need to tell you who he is. He was, he was on the show a few months ago, back shortly after you guys reformed the band and all that. And he made a call, and I wanted to get your take on it. He said him as a fan loved it. He thought it was amazing seeing, on one show you have the Wolfpack on there, you have some guys that were in the original ECW. When you consider the cast of characters that TNA had on the show right then and there, it was just an amazing cast. But then he said, then he stopped and thought about the 11-year-old kid who's watching it at home who might not have.
Here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And he said that concerned him because he wasn't sure if the young ones knew what the hell was going on.
They would care. They're not stupid. They can catch on and that, but you got to tell the story properly. And when we were on there, I remember I was listening to Howard Stern the day after that thing happened, when we came back, and talking about it, he's like, it seems like all inside baseball to him because unless you knew the backstory from freaking 12 years ago, nobody's telling the story of exactly what's so significant about us being in the ring there.
Is that a
it's just everybody is making this assumption that everybody knows the story, and Howard Stern didn't, and he would have enjoyed it a lot more if he did.
Is that a copyright thing? They're afraid to say the letters NWO or DX or things like that, or is it just that they assume that people are a lot smarter than they actually are, or followed our sport a lot more than they actually have?
No, it's just that they're in this freaking wrestling bubble. They live in it. And so they just can't imagine somebody not already knowing. And so it was an oversight to them. And nobody pointed it out beforehand. And nobody was mindful that there's a lot of people that are wrestling fans now that don't even know what the hell's going on.
That's exactly right. And that's, I don't know. I don't want to be negative because I don't, I love this business. If I didn't, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it as long as we do. But it seems like we're on a stage now where there's a lot of simple things, like tying your shoes that aren't being done that would make all the difference in terms of walking. We're tripping over our shoelaces, and instead of, doing the simple things and tying up the loose ends and all that to make this a lot more of a smoother running product, at least on television-wise.
I think they need to start uncomplicating things a little bit, man.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're of the Lance Storm mindset of wrestler A does not like wrestler B, they have a match, instead of all this.
But that's not that simplistic, but I'm an Occam's razor person, man. I'm thinking if a person it's like that Inception movie. Sorry, I had to think much. I'm sorry.
You didn't like the movie because you had to think too much? Is that what you said?
No, and don't get me wrong, because I'm a thinker. I'm a thinker. Brain shouldn't feel like it's going to explode trying to figure shit out.
We don't want
I was going in to take a Mensa test. And I gave it a shot, too, but, wrestling shouldn't be like that.
Pat, you there?
Trying to cater to a wide, audience of, you don't want to isolate a certain, a certain portion of your crowd.
Right.
Because, there's some people there's some people that watch wrestling that aren't really the brightest people in the world, man. Come on.
I think we're the exception to the rule, but there are some people out there that kind of make you scratch. And some people, some people you'll have a conversation with, and I'm sure you do in autograph signing things. You've experienced it too, where if I wear a wrestling T-shirt out, which I don't do as much as I used to, but if you do wear a wrestling T-shirt out and somebody stops you and starts talking about it, there's always that weird moment when you're having the conversation where they say something and you stop for a sec to try to figure out if they're from if they're in on it, if they know. It's like, are they thinking this is all legit, or you got that weird second there where you're just not sure.
Yeah. That's why wrestling like this stayed strong in Mexico.
Yeah, and it's just, that's why, if you look around, that's what's, even though the MTV thing didn't really work out so well, there's always...
Yeah, well, does it suck?
What was wrong with it? You weren't a fan of the Lucha Libre USA.
I mean, do you guys disagree with me?
Oh, I only saw one episode and I recognized one face, so Liz Mark I recognized. I think other than that, I didn't recognize anybody.
Okay, you recognized him, but did you enjoy watching it?
I only watched the one episode, and I didn't ever go crawling back for more, so I guess not.
It's really poorly put together with you couldn't hear the crowd, and, you know, and the voiceovers were really, like, I mean, it was, I don't know, man, that style just don't they need to shoot it in Mexico or whatever, because the people down there somehow get that style. Yeah. I think it's brutal. I think it's the worst style, and that's a terrible style.
You don't work down there no more, do you?
But even when I did, I never did that style.
Yeah.
I was just, horrified by it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, there's always a lot of guys who, there's always weird things that would happen, like a guy would get hit with a move and then get up because he wanted to do his spot. And it's like,
yep.
So wait a minute. He just got hit with his move, but he doesn't seem to mind because he wants to get up to do his move. And it's like, alrighty. I don't get it, but I thought maybe I would get it if I spoke Spanish, but I don't know.
Nope.
So if the SAP button would have translated it back to English for me, I still wouldn't have gotten it then.
And no, not at all. And then the thing is now that the WWE product is getting more saturation into into that market, the people are really starting to see the big difference in the product. And I'm not talking about production values. I'm talking about the in-ring product.
Right.
You know? Because really this Mexican style makes no sense whatsoever. Anyways, the hell with that.
There you go. So, man, all right. So you're going to be appearing tomorrow night at Kerr's Wing House in Port. Where was it?
Geez, it's right outside of St. Pete in Clearwater.
There you go. Is that near where you're so you're going to be signing autographs? So you said absolutely no expense to anybody, so that's pretty cool to get out there.
You know what? The people are really good to me in this area, and I just decided I was going to just do it, you know.
Anybody else going to be there with you, or is it just to be you?
Calhead's going to be there, and Calhead Show and Calhead TV, so it's going to be all for the TV show as well.
Cool.
It's going to be cool.
Very cool. And, anything like that you need to promote in the future, just email me or text me or send a message to our friend Nick over here. Nick's on the line, and Nick does a lot of our news. So.
Well, I don't feel so guilty asking someone to promote something I'm doing for free.
Don't worry about asking you to promote even if you're doing it or getting paid. I don't mind. Anything we could do to help out, man.
Well, man, I just want the people to come out and have a good time, because I enjoy meeting them.
There you go. Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to be signing off in just a few moments here, but any last thoughts and memories that you wanted to share of the person who kind of put us all together here tonight, and that is the late great and true icon of female wrestling, whether she ever held the women's championship or not, and I know that's something that she really always wanted and never ended up happening for. Any final parting thoughts you'd like to share on Luna Vachon?
I just, everybody always talks good about people when they pass, but so I'm going to try to just get right down to it. She was just a dear friend of mine, and on a personal note, Angel, I love you very much, and miss you. I didn't get a chance to stop up there. She was so close. 25, 30 miles from me here. And when I got back into the country, I meant to go see her. And it's, you find yourself in, my line of work, regretting that a lot, putting off going and seeing people and talking, to them or calling them. And next thing you know, you find out they passed. So, anyways, I guess that's it,
Well, Sean, I got to tell you, it was an honor. It was made my day because I was having a shitty weekend until I logged on Sunday when I saw your message to me. So I thank you for thinking of us, for wanting to come on and do this. Anytime you want to come on and shoot the crap about the business, you're welcome to do so. And we can't thank you enough, man. You're really one of the nicer guys in the business, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time and doing this with us.
It's a pleasure, you know, and it's an honor to be able to, you know, pay tribute to, you know, our great friend and somebody that really pioneered and paved the way for women, you know. And so I appreciate it, you guys.
Anytime, man.
Awesome. Well,
hopefully next time we talk to you, let's talk about, you know, the birth of a baby or a classic Superstars action figure or something happy. Let's not.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I like to have a good time and laugh, and you know, I mean, I'm not opposed to laughing right now, man.
There you go.
You know, can't just be running around sad all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's unfortunately the tone of tonight, but I think
you still don't have to be running around sad, you know. I mean, you could be sad for the loss, but man, let's keep our heads up, man.
Exactly.
Watch a funny movie, man. Smoke a joint.
You know what? After we got off the phone with I almost flipped, with Missy the other night, she was so upset, and I said to her, "Look, go watch a funny movie. Find something funny on TV." Because I when I hear people all, you know, sad and crying, it bugs me. And as somebody who pretty much doesn't cope with much else except for action and comedy, I just think, you know what, go laugh and have a good time. Even if life sucks right now, get away from it and think about something else.
Doesn't, man. Life doesn't suck, man. Life is great. This sucks, but life is great.
There you go. That's what you got to keep in mind. It doesn't make the whole thing suck. It just is a bad part of life.
Yeah, man. So everybody, you know, kick yourself in the ass and quit feeling sad.
You know what? I got a T-shirt idea in mind that I want to put out for the shirt for our site, and the front says "Boo effing who," because I'm so sick and tired of people bitching and moaning about stuff. Not this. This is an exception. But people get so uptight and pissing and moaning about everything that I've had so much. It's just like, relax, just have fun.
Yeah, that's always about trivial shit.
Exactly. And then when something actually happens that does matter, people don't know how to cope with it.
You're right, bro. You're right.
God bless you, man. Enjoy yourself tomorrow night and have a great night. And stay in touch, man. Send me a message anytime you need anything.
Hey, man, you too.
Take care.
Peace.
God bless you. Take care. Man, I love that guy. He's such a sweet gentleman.
Yeah, such a fun-loving, happy guy, too.
He's been around. I mean, the guy, you know, true story, back in the day, and I told Jerry Lynn this, I used to get, you know, in trouble at school because I would be standing at the door looking up at the clock with my hand on the doorknob because I wanted to run home, because if I didn't run home, I wouldn't be able to get my soda, my popcorn, my potato chips, or whatever else I was going to have, and be plopped down in front of that TV for 4 o'clock when ESPN came on, and the GWF was on, and the Lightning Kid, and Jerry Lynn, and all the other guys that were on at that time. You know what? If you look back at it now, you might not see what I found so impressive about it, but it was a daily wrestling show. I mean, how amazing is that to think about these days? Daily wrestling.
Yeah, I remember a lot when Waltman or Jerry Lynn was working for TNA, they would bring up a lot with Mike TNA about how that was the style he loved, how he was actually stopped, wasn't watching a lot of wrestling, and then, you know, they started the Lynn Lightning Kid feud, and that brought him back into loving wrestling, and eventually led to, you know, his career that's lasted for him now close to 20 years.
Who's that again?
Excuse me?
Who are we talking about?
Mike TNA.
Mike TNA. Well, good. Yeah, I mean, that was unlike anything. That was unlike anything we had seen stateside.
I mean, that was really kind of, a lot of people, like, I think they're dead on when they say this, that was kind of bringing what was the cruiserweight style, or now the X Division style, to America, where you had 2 lighter guys that weren't wrestling like heavyweights. They were wrestling like guys. They would throw moves that like a lighter guy could do. You know, they were the first ones to kind of include kicks, and you know, I know Sean says he's not a fan of style, but almost lucha libre-like moves, dives, and different things.
And when he says he's not a fan of the style, he's not saying he doesn't like the high fly. I think what he's saying is
the
trying to think who
isn't there.
The psychology, yeah. Hector Garza would pretty much be a summarization of it all. I don't care if I just got
everything about him except for the style.
Yeah, he had a decent enough look.
Because he doesn't look like he'd be a high flyer.
No. But the thing was, he always liked to do that weird little corkscrew thing off the middle rope to the floor, right? And it wouldn't matter if he got assassinated in the ring. He was going to stand up and do that move regardless. And it was like, well, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why, the simplicities of things. But what sticks out in your memories about guys, from the business? And, one of the things that I always go back to, and Nick will probably blow the whistle on me, is Bret Hart and the first table spot on WWE TV. Or one of the first anyway, when Bret just out of nowhere went through the announcer's table at, I think it was Survivor Series 95.
Survivor Series 95, yeah.
So that was kind of like just a, holy shit moment. And it wasn't anything that spectacular. It just was done well.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I remember kind of a similar time period when Diesel powerbombed Shawn Michaels to the table, and, you had Vince McMahon standing up, grabbing on his Shawn. He's trying to stand up saying, just let it be over. Just let it be over. They were acting like, oh, my God, this guy got driven through a table. He's got to be hurt. Now a guy goes through a table, and it's just a Team 3D spot.
Who, TNA, please don't re-sign them, okay?
It's nothing personal against those guys, but it's just like, there's been nothing that they've done with them of late that anybody's really given a shit about. And if anybody I'd like to see stick...
Years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I like Devon tremendously. I don't really like Bubba, but I like Devon tremendously. And I just think that, unless they could find something creative for them to do, there's no need for them to be there.
Especially when they've got the tag team roster that they have. But that kind of brings me, you mentioned Team 3D, and I kind of wanted to say something about Luna and tied in. Team 3D, they say all the time that they're Bubba says this all the time. They're the greatest team of all time because they've held like 47 titles or whatever. Well, nobody's ever won a title, and that's kind of my take on it. The titles are manufactured, and to me, they're more of a reward for good work. But I kind of like to remember the wrestlers for their body of work and what they contributed to the business rather than how many titles they won. So Luna, yeah, it's kind of sad that she never won the women's title, but at the same time, I don't think less of her career because of it.
No. I don't think, I think that if you look at Jake the Snake Roberts, who just retired.
He's the best example, probably.
Yeah. I mean, how over was this guy? How amazing was his in-ring work, even though he didn't do much of anything? Just how great was he? And if you look at the title histories, like, there's almost nothing. There's Georgia titles and things like that, but nothing on that national scale.
Right.
He's probably the biggest name to never win a belt in WWF or WCW, and he worked for both companies.
Right. I mean, people blow up out of proportion his time in WCW. It wasn't very long, but
well, it was there for like, 3 months?
Yeah, but when he came in, he was the hottest thing there, going up against Sting. So
I mean, he was there. So he worked for both major companies.
Absolutely.
He worked a brief stint in ECW as well.
Yeah, he was more of a guy they brought in occasionally, but yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's another guy that just retired, and his reasoning is that with his father passing, he has nothing left to prove. And I'd like to believe that deep down he doesn't honestly believe that he was trying to, at 55 or what have you, before his father passed, still trying to impress him. Because if you look at what he accomplished in the business, if he was going to accomplish, he had to have impressed his dad.
He surpassed his dad. We can be honest.
Well, drastically, yeah.
Well, I mean, we can say that, but there is a weird kind of psychological thing that can go on where even if like you said, we can look at Jake Roberts and say by far he was a more famous wrestler than his father. By far he was one of the top guys in the business. Yet if his own father never said that to him, that same little boy quality can sometimes still affect you, and you can still kind of look at it as, God, I still haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish.
And Jake was one of those guys who came out and said what I think is the very basis of heavy metal. And that is that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you that I have to. And I think that's what Jake's motivation was throughout his entire life. So to that degree, even though I do hope that at some point he got past the father issue, even though his promo would say the otherwise, I think that Jake is a perfect example of the motivation that I'm talking about. And I've been talking a little bit about it lately because a lot of people have been, even Hulk Hogan has been saying a lot of like Buddhist Zen things. And all I keep saying of late is, you know what, if you believe that stuff, that's wonderful and honestly will help you in everyday life. But there is a fine line. There is a fine line between being passive and letting things roll off your back and becoming completely naive. So you need that fire in order to accomplish anything in life. And I maybe that's just me, but you know what? I took what I took in school and I used it as a platform to accomplish whatever it is that I've accomplished. And I think a lot of people, do the same things. They have to have something to motivate them. And for me, it's a little bit of anger. A little bit of anger motivates me. Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I was watching a documentary on Michael Jordan. He was talking about the reason he walked away from the NBA in '93 was he felt like he had nothing left to accomplish. And then he went to baseball to be a challenge. And there were some other things going on, but I mean, it goes along right with what you were saying.
Yeah.
He didn't have that motivation anymore, so he went someplace where he could find it.
There you go. By the way, I'm going to jump off here, guys. And before we
actually only have about 3 minutes left.
Oh, okay. So you better hit play on Missy.
Right.
All right. So if you didn't enjoy hearing Medusa cry, you're really not going to like hearing Missy cry because she goes off. And much respect to Missy, who's somebody as I've always thought of as bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
Even though a death would be different, it's just sad as can be to hear somebody like that who's taken everything and come out swinging to everything, just cry. And I think that if you didn't like, for any reason, Missy Hyatt going into this, you might leave this interview, even though it might not be her intent, actually liking her and feeling very, understanding where she's coming from. This is an emotional one, guys, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now.
I'll play Luna's theme, because I know you, but I'll play Luna's theme at the start.
Cool. And then we have Love Gun by Tommy Shaw, and she'll get why I played that. But just cover. Anyway, guys, I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to let you guys sign off before you play Missy, okay?
All righty.
Hope everybody enjoyed. Take care.
All right. Bye, James.
All right. So I just want to tell everyone that since we are going to go off here, that the full Missy Hyatt interview will be uploaded in our archive at blogtalkradio.com/TII Live.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, all right. So I think in closing, I'll just say rest in peace, Luna.
What did you say, Nick? I couldn't hear you.
I was going to say, I think the only thing I want to close with is rest in peace, Luna. You will be missed.